Hi, my name's Steve Cohen. I'm on the faculty of the School of International Public Affairs, and today I'm going to talk with you about the current state of environmental degradation, what are its causes, and what strategy can be used to develop a renewable resource-based economy. So the current state of environmental degradation is serious. We have climate change, which is perhaps the most important issue at the moment. The planet's getting warmer at an alarming rate. We have persistence of plastics and toxics in the ecosphere. We have deforestation and loss of biodiversity, increased water pollution and drought, poor waste management, and invasive species and infectious diseases such as COVID-19 that we all just lived through. And what are the causes of degradation? Well, first, unregulated production technologies, factories that simply pollute because it's easier than doing anything else. Mismanaged manufacturing operations. This happens when companies just make mistakes. Development of land that should be preserved because of its ecological value. The absence of environmental values and ethics. We also see the political pressure for economic development and the lack of understanding of the connection to environment to economic growth, because environmental damage costs money. Pollution doesn't just bring economic benefits, it also brings economic costs. Underinvestment in environmental protection technologies, consumer demand for products that pollute, just as part of the seductiveness of our lifestyle, and finally, ignorance of science and environmental impacts. So what do we do about this? What's the strategy that we could follow to reduce pollution and build a renewable resource-based economy? Well, let's turn to a realistic, pragmatic strategy for reducing pollution and growing this renewable economy. The key elements of the strategy are providing public investments for clean production and consumption. And to do that, we need to clearly define a clean economy by developing generally accepted sustainability metrics, just as we have generally accepted accounting principles. We need to, in order to measure money, we need to do the same thing with measuring environmental sustainability. Then we need to rigorously measure current conditions and work steadily to improve them. A key, I think, is to connect environmental sustainability to economic growth. We need to discard the concept that environmental protection can only take place through reduced economic consumption. And part of that came from the origin of our first efforts at protecting the environment. So we added stack scrubbers to power plants, that added cost. We put catalytic converters on cars, that added costs. But an electric vehicle doesn't need catalytic converters. It's been completely redesigned so it's emission-free. And solar power doesn't require a stack scrubber because there is no stack. So the point is you can design into new products an ability to perform the things that you want done without polluting the environment. Production and consumption has to change, what we consume and how we produce. And we want to implement elements of a circular economy where everything that comes in is eventually reused. And we don't do what's called a linear economy where we make stuff, consume it, chew it up, and spit it out and dump it in a hole in the ground. We want to avoid that. The overall strategy is to use incentives to fund research that will develop new sustainability technologies and practices to help put them in place. Now, technology for over a century and a half has been steadily transforming how we live and where we live. Steam engines, the electric grid, light bulbs, refrigeration, air conditioning, radios, TV, the internet, GPS, smartphones, the internal combustion engine. The list can go on forever of new technologies that we have developed that have changed the way we live. And the pace of innovation has been often funded by research, basic research in the government, but then how new products are developed and marketed is left to the free market. Now, there is this idea that all regulation is bad and prevents growth, and that somehow that the free market somehow exists somewhere. The market's dominant, but government has always intervened, largely in the United States through the Defense Department, And in the United States, there have been many interventions which government has engaged in, such as promoting home ownership with insured mortgages and income tax deductions for property taxes. Henry Ford may have invented the Model T, but he didn't build any roads. Government promoted automobile use by building roads and highways. And so my point here is that even as capitalist as the United States is, it still has a mixed economy with collective resources as well as individual. Environmental sustainability needs to be pursued with the same energetic use of government's authority and resources that we saw in this country, in the United States, with the development of mass ownership of homes and automobiles. We need to self-consciously accelerate the development of and use of technologies that enable economic growth while preventing environmental damage. The strategy is built on a positive vision of sustainability. Addressing issues like climate change and maintaining biodiversity does not need to result in sacrifice. In fact, it can result in more exciting and interesting lifestyles. So often, environmentalists present the change they want as stopping something. And what I'm saying is, no, we have to substitute the current way of doing things with something else. Technological advances have been changing human lifestyles and enhancing our quality of life for centuries. Our task now is to steer those changes to enrich our lives while preserving the planet. So, for example, in waste management, one of the things that's being developed is single-stream waste management using robotics and artificial intelligence to mine garbage for resources, whether it's food recycling for nitrogen and for natural gas, whether it is pulling plastics and rare metals and rare earth metals out of the waste stream. All of that is coming in and is happening now. But the strategy not only requires new technology, it requires a practical and realistic political analysis. Yes, we need to change the type of energy we use, but making fossil fuel more expensive will not drive people toward renewables unless those renewables are as convenient and available as the fossil fuels. So our job is not to disincentivize people from using fossil fuels, but to incentivize the use of renewable energy. In New York City in 1905, the biggest environmental problem we had was horse manure. We were knee-deep in it. That's how we got around. 10 years later, with the invention of the subway and the internal combustion engine, suddenly that problem went away. We didn't tax the horse, we just came up with a much better way of getting around. Now, if we focus on things like a carbon tax, more expensive energy will generate political opposition to reduce greenhouse gases. In the long run, renewables are going to be far cheaper than fossil fuels. It's already happening. So the best political strategy is to subsidize renewables until that subsidy is no longer needed, and to focus on making renewable energy more convenient and more reliable. So this strategy has four key elements. First, connect economic growth to environmental sustainability and modernization. Environmental sustainability is a key element of economic modernization. We have to have environmental standards and rules, but the emphasis is on achieving improvement through incentives rather than punishment. A focus on environmental and non-environmental sustainability metrics to build a sustainability management culture and replace aspirational targets, we're going to do this by 2030 and that by 2040, with rigorous measures of current levels of performance and an emphasis on continuous improvement. The key is to change the nature of consumption and use technology to reduce environmental impacts. People do not need to sacrifice and receive fewer benefits, but consumption becomes a means rather than an end. Environmental sustainability has to be seen as a key element of economic modernization, raising standard of living. We invest in new technology and infrastructure that makes our energy, water, waste, and transport systems more efficient, cleaner, and lower cost. We preserve land and ensure that its exploitation is environmentally sustainable and permits regeneration. No carbon taxes, but tax benefits for reducing population. Yes, environmental criminals must be punished, but let's not build a system that assumes everyone's a criminal. Stress the benefits of a sustainable lifestyle. We also need to end communications that shame business and attack consumption. Attacking business doesn't speed the transition to a sustainable economy. We need to recruit business. And in fact, in more and more businesses, young people are changing corporate culture because they want to make sure that they build wealth without harming the environment. We should be building consensus and cooperation along with mutual gain, not declaring each other enemies and trying to win for the sake of winning. Our focus should be on the development and implementation of renewable energy technologies and new methods of waste recycling. We should develop a non-ideological consensus around modernizing the energy system, pushing for more reliable, lower priced, and less polluting energy instead of attacking fossil fuel companies. If the issue is framed as banning fossil fuels from the developing world, self-interest, national sovereignty, and the pride of developing nations will prevent any international agreement. If the issue is framed as providing incentives from the developed world to the developing nations to build a carbon-free energy system, there's a good chance we could move in that direction. An attitude of moral superiority is particularly destructive in any effort to build the political support needed for systemic change. We need to focus on environmentally sustainable economic growth. The strategy for reducing pollution and growing a renewable resource-based economy must focus on economic growth that doesn't harm the environment. There are lots and lots of areas of growth: culture, entertainment, education, software, wellness, physical fitness. All of these activities generate low environmental impact. Manufacturing, construction, transportation, agriculture, and operating in the built environment are areas of high environmental impact and economic impact. So we need to be creative and use ingenious engineering to reduce the environmental impact of our manufacturing world. We need to move beyond symbols and goals and targets and focus on improving what's going on here. One environmental symbolism is the setting of greenhouse gas and other environmental targets. This much reduction by 2030, that much by 2050. My university has targets, the city has, the state has, country has, and UN, and none of it means anything. We have to move beyond symbols to focusing on what's actually going on. Aspirational goals have a value, but I'm far more interested in actually looking at how we're doing things and seeing how do we do it better next year. That's basically what I wanted to say today about changing environmental politics and progress toward a renewable resource-based economy. I should also mention that I believe that those changes are already underway. We're starting to see it. The adoption of renewable energy is growing. The use of electric vehicles is growing. We're even seeing this in farming, where using precision farming, computers, drones, satellite technology, and automated tractors, so that what happens is that the farmer does not put any more pesticide, fertilizer, herbicide, or water on the plant than that which is absolutely necessary. That reduces cost, but it also reduces the runoff of toxics from the farm into the groundwater. These kinds of changes, these new technologies, they're here. They make the economy more efficient, and I think it's really the way the future is going to work. And what I'm encouraged by is that the students I teach here at Columbia, they are very interested in this topic. They're going into businesses and performing these kinds of tasks to change the way that the business world operates. Some of them are going into NGOs to advocate, some are going to government to make policy. But taken together, I'm extremely optimistic that this is the way the future is going to be, that the process has begun, and in 20 years, we're going to be pretty far along this transition to a renewable resource-based economy. Thank you for listening, and I hope to be able to see you all soon.